Welcome to our discussion on the halal economy, a realm where faith meets cutting-edge innovation in food, finance, and technology.
Absolutely. It's just mind-blowing how this market has evolved from a niche concept into a trillion-dollar opportunity, right?
Exactly. You know, it's like the global halal food market isn't just about religious dietary rules. It's a paradigm shift, anchored in ethical consumerism, sustainability, and smart technology.
Right. So we're seeing projections jumping from about $1.43 trillion in 2023 to nearly $2 trillion by 2028. And some estimates even go into multiple trillions if you include more expansive definitions.
Yes, and that's partly because there isn't a single universal definition of what qualifies as a halal product, which results in very different market valuations
Yeah,
across
I get
reports.
that. It's fascinating how this fragmentation can actually signal that the market is still in a growth phase, with room for harmonization, right?
Exactly, and that fragmentation is one of the key challenges. But when you layer in the incredible demographic tailwind, like the global Muslim population growing from 1.8 to nearly 2.8 billion by 2050, it really sets the stage.
Right? Plus, there's this cool twist that non-Muslim consumers are also embracing halal products, simply because they associate them with higher standards of hygiene and quality.
Precisely. It's not just about religious compliance anymore. The label is evolving into a mark of purity and ethical production, which in turn creates what some call a halal premium in the market.
And that premium, as you mentioned, shifts the competitive strategy from price battles to building trust and integrity in the brand.
Right on. Speaking of strategy, there's an interesting dichotomy here. On one side, we see massive consumer demand, and on the other, a shift in investment approaches toward what's being called a barbell strategy.
That's when investment capital concentrates at two extremes. Heavy investments in physical infrastructure and strategic consolidations, and in high-growth, tech-driven ventures. Correct?
Exactly. We've seen traditional markets in Europe consolidating via M&A, while in the Middle East and North Africa, FoodTech companies like Kalo and GrubTech are attracting serious venture capital for their innovative, scalable solutions.
It's interesting, though. Some critics might say that the decline in M&A deal volume, nearly a 41% drop year over year, signals a market that's possibly cooling off.
True, but I think that decline is more about market maturation rather than weakness. The market is choosing to invest in infrastructure and digital innovation more strategically, rather than hand-to-hand, mid-sized speculative deals.
Right. And speaking of infrastructure, the state-driven investments are another critical point. Sovereign wealth funds in Saudi Arabia and the UAE are pouring billions into food security and industrial capacity.
Absolutely. For instance, think about Saudi Arabia's aggressive moves. Investments like those from BRF and JBS in building new manufacturing hubs, and even Nestlé establishing its own plant in Jeddah.
Yeah, and these moves aren't just about market share. They're intimately linked with national strategies like Vision 2030, aiming to transform economies away from hydrocarbon dependency.
Exactly. It's a clear case of using food security as a strategic lever for economic diversification, while also building domestic capacity.
Shifting gears a bit, what do you make of the consumer side of things? The evolution into a Tayyab standard, where it's not only about being permissible, but also pure and ethically produced?
It's revolutionary. This transition reflects how modern consumers, both Muslim and non-Muslim, demand transparency, ethical sourcing, and sustainability.
Exactly. And with a Nielsen report showing that 73% of US consumers are willing to pay a premium for transparency, it's clear that trust is a central currency these days.
Right, which is why technology is coming in as a game changer. Technologies like blockchain for traceability are transforming trust into a verifiable data-backed asset.
And let's not forget about robotics and advanced sensors in halal processing plants. They not only boost efficiency, but also ensure consistent adherence to strict standards.
Exactly. It's like the industry is building a digital audit trail from farm to fork, turning a leap of faith into a transparent, trustworthy process.
That kind of innovation is exactly what's needed to address the halal paradox, where industrial practices sometimes clash with the ethical promises of traditional halal.
Yes, and the infusion of AgriTech, like controlled environment agriculture and water-saving technologies, is remarkably reshaping production methods, especially in arid regions.
Those innovations are a win-win, both for achieving food security and for ensuring that production remains sustainable and efficient.
Definitely. And with smart farms leveraging IoT and AI for precision farming, the region is not just surviving its natural constraints, it's reinventing how food is produced.
Now, looking forward, what's your take on the strategic recommendations coming out of all this research?
The recommendations are spot on. They suggest first that investors adopt a barbell strategy, focusing on both heavy strategic infrastructure plays and tech-driven asset-light ventures.
Yeah, that dual approach seems logical, especially given the divergent regional trends. Established markets naturally favor consolidation, while high-growth areas like the GCC benefit from agile tech startups.
Right? And then there's the call for building brands on proof, not just promise. With so much focus on ethics and transparency now, it's essential that brands invest in technologies like blockchain to actually verify their claims.
I do think, however, that some might argue the upfront costs could be prohibitive for smaller players. It's a real challenge, balancing investment in technology with maintaining competitive prices.
True, but as the market matures, those who don't invest risk being left behind in a highly competitive, trust-based marketplace. That's why harmonizing halal standards through a unified tech-enabled platform is so crucial.
And that, to me, is one of the most exciting aspects. The idea of a global, blockchain-enabled standard that could essentially bridge the current fragmentation gap.
Exactly. With major players like Saudi Arabia and the UAE positioned to lead that charge, we could soon see a globally standardized system that reduces trade friction and builds consumer confidence across borders.
That would be a genuine geopolitical game changer, forging a new common ground not just for commerce, but for international food security standards.
Absolutely. It's a classic example of how technology isn't just a side note. It's a fundamental enabler shaping the future of a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Well said. It truly feels like we're witnessing the birth of a new global economic axis, where ethical production, smart technology, and strategic state policies converge.
Couldn't agree more. The halal economy is evolving on multiple fronts, from consumer preferences and technology adoption to strategic national investments. And it's all setting the stage for a truly integrated, resilient global market.
Yeah, this conversation has been incredibly enlightening. It's amazing to see tradition and modernity collide to create such a vibrant landscape.
Absolutely. And as we move forward, the key will be embracing both the heritage and the innovation, ensuring that every promise made is backed by proof, transparency, and sustainable practices.
Here's to a future where the halal economy continues to thrive, adapt, and, well, set global standards that benefit everyone, from producers to consumers.
Cheers to that, and thanks for diving into this dynamic space with me today. It's been a great exploration of how an ancient tradition is being reborn in the digital age.